8 teams will make it to Omaha, Nebraska this summer for the College World Series. And on today's show, we reveal our predicted Omaha 8 and the reasoning behind each of our selections. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Welcome to the WINDUP, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Again, that's our friends over at FANDUEL, FANDUEL.com/SECU to get your $200 in bonus bets today. We are less than 2 weeks away from opening day, and the College World Series is just around the corner. The ultimate destination that every single college baseball team has got their sights set on. But only 8 can go. Who will those 8 be? Myself and Harrison Fant will take our best stab, give our predictions, and our reasoning behind each of our preseason selections for our Omaha 8. Guys, once again, welcome into the WINDUP, the best SEC baseball show on the internet. Bi-weekly, you can find us every single week, Monday and Thursday, noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central, and of course, found on YouTube, podcasts, and everywhere you get your content. I am Chris Phillips. He is once again joining me, Harrison Fant. Harrison, appreciate you taking the time. Excited to break this down with you. This is always one of our more exciting shows of the preseason. We're locking in our predictions, and just to give folks not too much of a spoiler, but we got some differences here because there's a lot of Omaha caliber clubs in college baseball this year. Really excited to break it all down with you and discuss this.
Yeah, Chris, great to be here. And we're so close. We're just under 2 weeks away from opening day, which means Omaha's right around the corner because we know the season's going to fly by week by week. Especially once conference play starts, it's going to be go, go, go. We're going to look up. It's going to be, conference tournament time. We're going to blink again. It's going to be time to get on the plane to go to Omaha because we'll be back there and 8 teams will be there and we'll figure out which ones those are when we get to that point. But we have a good feeling we know who we think they will be, and I'm excited to break it down with you.
Well, and you think too, Harrison, again, this is SEC Unfiltered, right? We feel pretty confident the SEC is going to be well represented. I made the joke with you and others after the College World Series last year that I said, we're going to take, obviously, road trips every single year. And it's a really good feeling that, I don't think I'm jinxing anything when I say we know we're going to have a team in that thing every single year. So Omaha is always going to be a destination for us. That's a really good feeling because if you've never been to the College World Series, our first time was last year. It's an absolute blast. I highly suggest it. And as we talked last week, Harrison, I'm excited to actually get out there for the full 2 weeks and not be out there for 4 or 5 days.
I'm going to make the mistake of leaving.
Don't make the mistake. Don't make the mistake of leaving early. You never know what you're going to miss. I'm also in the mood today, Harrison. I've got the vintage 2012 College World Series t-shirt on. For those listening via podcast, you can't see it. It's an awesome shirt, by the way. I found this at a Goodwill one. Really, truly. I mean, to be 13 years old, it is. But I found this at a Goodwill one time. On the back, it's got all 8 of the contestants from that year. You've got teams like South Carolina was in it. You might recall they were going for 3 straight. Rob Refsnyder's Arizona team. Florida State was in it. But then you got Kent State. You got Stony Brook, right? I was like, man, there were some very unlikely names that found their way to the middle of America that summer. So maybe we'll see that again. I want to start there, Harrison, because before we pull up this graphic here, we're going to have a graphic. Again, those listening, you're going to hear us talk about it. We are going to post this on social media as well on Monday afternoon. But I want to start there, Harrison, because this is a conversation you and I had off air. And feel free to disagree. I know I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers here with some folks. And I could be wrong at some point. I probably will because college baseball is unpredictable. But when I was looking at this shirt, looking at Stony Brook, looking at Kent State, looking this year at the preseason top 25, seeing names like Troy and College of Charleston and UC Santa Barbara, and like I grew up, UC Irvine was always in Omaha, and some of these Cal State Fullerton, some of these mid-majors, right? Mid-major love, a lot of mid-major love on the timeline and in the college baseball community. Mid-majors are part of what make the sport so great. But looking at these different SEC teams, right? We're doing our research Thursday, guys. In case you didn't know, we're going to break down all these teams. We're going to give our full predictions, predicted order of finish, all that good stuff. Break down all 16 teams. As you look at the teams, though, Harrison, every single one of these teams, their lineup, 3 to 4 transfer guys coming from mid-majors, coming from G5s, pitching staff, same thing. It led me to this thought, and I don't think parity, Harrison's, going anywhere in college baseball. I don't, because it's a round ball, round bat. It's unpredictable. We're never going to stop seeing things like midweek upsets or upsets in regionals or things like Evansville get into a super. I don't know that those things are going to stop happening. But last year, we had 4 SEC teams and 4 ACC teams. And as each year passes, and NIL and revenue sharing, to me in college baseball, it does feel like a situation in which it sounds bad to say the rich are getting richer, but the ultimate point I'm making here, Harrison, is I think the Cinderella story is all but dead in college baseball. From the standpoint of making it to Omaha. I'm not saying making a run in the regular season. I'm not saying making a run in a regional. Like a SEMO is going to happen again. Evansville is going to happen again. If College of Charleston gets in, if Troy gets in,
Indiana
again,
State.
some of these others, Indiana State, that's going to happen. But I think the Cinderella story getting to Omaha, Coastal Carolina in 2016, is all but dead in college baseball. Because the more I look at it, and you look at these SEC teams, every guy that pops off for the most part at a G5 or a mid-major program, they transfer to LSU. They transfer to Georgia. They transfer to Tennessee. Look at the rosters. And like when you're a mid-major program, you need all of those guys and then some to go up against. It's one thing to win a midweek, Harrison, you know this. It's another to win a series. It's another thing to get in a super regional, have to go to College Station, go to Baton Rouge, go to Columbia, go to Tuscaloosa, go to Auburn, go to wherever and win a super regional. Like it's a different beast. And so I think what we saw last year, 4 SEC, 4 ACC, I think we'll probably see a Big Ten team get in the mix, especially with like an Oregon being in the Big Ten. We might see like an Oregon State get in one year. We'll probably see someone from the Big 12 at some point figure it out and get in. But Harrison, I think the Cinderella story is dead in college baseball. So I say all that, all but spoiling my Omaha 8. I don't think this is the year we see a mid-major team get into Omaha. Am I being too harsh? Right, wrong? Your thoughts? Again, I just think the talent, man, these guys are going up in level. They're taking an IL at LSU. They're taking an IL in the SEC. I just maybe it'll happen one-off, but I feel like that used to be kind of a common thing, and I think that's going to be far less common.
Yeah, Chris, no, I think it's a great point, and it's going to be tougher, this year and going forward for a mid-major team to make it to Omaha than it has ever been in the history of college baseball because of all those things you mentioned with NIL, the transfer portal, and just opportunities to, go play at Power 5 programs, go play in the SEC, go play in the SEC. And it's just going to be so much harder. And I don't see it really happening. I mean, it's only really happened every 8 years, which you think about it, that's not that often. It's just for all those reasons, going to be even harder to do so. And it won't surprise me at all if another 3 years in a row goes by, we don't have a mid-major team in Omaha. But it won't surprise me necessarily if we do see one sneak in. I mean, we talked about it, Chris, before. Evansville was a game away last year in the Super Regional at Tennessee, and Tennessee ended up winning it all. SEMO goes to Arkansas, wins the regional at Arkansas with the best pitching staff we've seen in the SEC all of last year, at least for the most part last year. It's possible, but it's unlikely.
And it's unlikely because, Harrison, as we're about to talk about here in a second, God, the SEC and the ACC are so dominant. I mean, it's just
Indeed.
Like we saw it last year. I wouldn't be surprised we saw it again. I mean, I just some combination of SEC, ACC, I think they're going to make up at least probably 75% of the field moving forward. And upsets happen, like you said. It could very well happen. I'm not naive enough to think that in the rest of our lifetime, a mid-major is never going to. And I hate to burst the bubble of folks that – because there's a lot of folks in the college baseball community that they talk about it for a living. Every now and then we'll mention it because we're going to talk midweeks. A lot of folks that love mid-major college baseball. But, like, I just don't think realistically we are in a spot where we're going to see anybody get to Omaha. Again, that's not to say not going to make postseason noise. I want to make that very clear. Get to Omaha, I think that's a stretch because the top talent, and you can't blame them, right? Jay Johnson calls you, and I'm in Indiana State. Respectfully to the Sycamores, I'm going to play at Alex Box. I'm going to take the $1 million NIL they're giving me. I mean, dude, granted, I don't think an Ivy League's going to get there anytime soon, but like, God, the SEC is just picking on the Ivy League with guys have 4 years to play. You can't play a fifth. I mean, they got dudes coming in that are raking from the Ivy League. So the SEC, ACC continue to strengthen. It's not going to take away from how fantastic the product is. But when you're determining Omaha 8, for me, Harrison, in the near future, that's why you're not going to see any, like, I was one the last few years. You just love putting East Carolina in there. Hey, man, at some point, Cliff Godwin. I don't know, man. I don't know. And maybe this will be the time now they get it done, but it's going to be a while until we see it probably happen again. It's going to be a while till I take a flyer on like a random mid-major that they find a way to get there. On that note, Harrison, before we reveal this bracket and we'll get it, this graphic, I should say, we'll get into it. Simply put, how hard was it for you to narrow it down to 8 teams? And when you were doing your research, how many teams did you feel like, were you like, man, there's 12 teams that realistically, in my mind, can get to Omaha. There's 15, there's 20, there's 25. Were there more? How hard was it for you to narrow it down to 8?
Yeah, Chris, I think it's just harder now than ever before, especially the more you dive into it, the more research you do, and you see a pathway for so many teams. You see so many teams that are deep across the board on offense and on the mound, and how they have the potential to get to Omaha. Obviously, anything can happen. You got to be healthy in the year, and you got to be hot. The 2 H's you have to get to Omaha: healthy and hot at the end of the year. And when I was doing my research, I got down to about 12 teams, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's basically an Omaha and a half of a field. 12 teams, 12 legit teams that, if they make it to Omaha, will not surprise me in the slightest bit this year, Chris.
I'm surprised you narrowed it down that much, to be honest. I'm actually impressed.
15,
I'm impressed.
Down to 12 that I felt really, really confident with.
I'm impressed that you got it down to that many.
What did you get it down to?
I would probably say 15. Yeah, I mean, that's, I was asked how many teams in the SEC can make it to Omaha. I mean, I think 6 or 7 realistically, but like, I'm like, would it shock me if this team down the list went? This one? There are some that are way more unlikely than others for sure. But no, to your point, I mean, so many great players, so many great coaches, makes it difficult. So, with that being said, we ready for this, Harrison? We're going to reveal this, our Omaha 8. We've got the graphic ready. Again, those listening, we'll go through it. My 8 selections, Harrison's 8 selections. Drum roll, please. Just kidding. We don't have one. But here it is, our Omaha 8 predictions, and we're going to go through these for the 2025 season. I'm going to run down my list, run down Harrison's list, and then we'll start diving into these. My Omaha 8 are as follows: the Florida Gators, the Clemson Tigers, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, the Duke Blue Devils, the Virginia Cavaliers, the Oregon Ducks, the LSU Tigers, and the Texas A&M Aggies. Harrison's Omaha 8, you're going to hear some similar names, some exact names. The Florida Gators, the Clemson Tigers, the Tennessee Volunteers, reigning national champions, getting back, the Arkansas Razorbacks getting back to Omaha, Virginia Cavaliers, Florida State Seminoles, LSU Tigers, and Texas A&M Aggies. Now, Harrison, let's start with the 5 common teams we have. Let's walk through these, and then we'll go into the 3 differences we have, because I think that's really fascinating. The 5 that we have, that we both have here on our Omaha 8, and why: Florida, Clemson, Virginia, LSU, Texas A&M. Okay? Let's start with the Florida Gators. Harrison, it's one of those things, I'll be totally honest with you. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here to Sully. I really am. When it comes to Kevin O'Sullivan, we'll talk more about this on Thursday. Liam Peterson scares me a little bit. The pitching scares me a little bit. They're going to smash the ball this year. Even losing, you would think losing Jack Caglione, there'd be more concern. But with Colby Shelton back, and they've got Brody Donay, I think is a guy, if he takes the next step, going to be a bomber if he can cut down on the strikeouts. You know they have arms, Harrison. This is one, and I feel like I don't want to speak for you. I'll give the opportunity, but this is almost like a program nod. This is like, okay, we're tipping our cap to you. You're 9-0 in supers under Kevin O'Sullivan. To say Florida is going to get to Omaha, Harrison, and you think about their path last year, they had to sneak into the field. You were on them all postseason. Give you the credit. I doubted them. They got through the Oklahoma State regional. They beat Clemson in the thriller of all thrillers and supers, and they make a little bit of a run, made some noise in Omaha. Harrison, to predict that Florida is going to make it to Omaha, it's not a crazy bold take, but I think it's a good take by us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the program that Kevin O'Sullivan has built over his tenure at the University of Florida, where we don't feel like it's, the fan base really rallies around the university as much as others in the SEC, and the pedigree that the University of Florida is on the diamond. He has produced talent after talent. They recruit like no one else, like the top end of the SEC in the country every single year. And the amount of times we've seen just studs, freshmen, sophomores coming out of the bullpen, coming to the mound, stepping to the plate that are like, they are so deep. They continue to do it every year. And yes, you got to replace one of the most electric players in college baseball history in Jack Caglione, who as great as he was, at the box with his stick and just explosive with his bat, he also pitched, and he pitched very competitively. His numbers weren't electric. They didn't blow you away, but he competed, and he did from left side and gave him a lot of innings too. But that's the thing for me that worries me is the more so the pitching side, the hitting side, because Chris, we know that they're not going to be out of any game this year with their lineup of Colby Shelton, who has one of the most powerful bats in the SEC, if not the country. And he just loves to compete. I mean, he's a fully rounded hitter at like batting average wise, power, getting guys in RBI. He's an RBI machine. Then you have a leader, and I think an underrated piece in Luke Heyman. I mean, he's got a lot of swing and miss if you can cut down on that, but he does serious pop and a lot of damage with runners on. He's a glue guy, and I think he's kind of a steady core piece of this squad in Florida, and just has been really underappreciated so far his time in Gainesville. And then guys like Ty Evans, a veteran centerpiece of the lineup as well. I mean, it feels like they just have several huge core pieces that are back this year. I mean, he struggles to draw walks, but if he can, draw more walks and cut down swing and miss a little bit, this lineup's not going to have any holes. I mean, you got Bobby Bowser from USF who transferred, senior utility guy. You got Blake Seary from Miami transferring to your rival, another big bat that's going to be adding more pop to the lineup. Then you got Kyle Jones from Stetson, who put up massive numbers last year at Stetson for the Hatters, batting .355. I mean, he is going to be a big impact player, and I think a legit center fielder and base stealer for the Gators. But like I said, the pitching side is going to worry me a little bit. With Liam Peterson, I think he's going to really grow. I think he took a huge step last year. Pierce Capella just looks like he's 7 foot on the mound. He's releasing it probably 10 feet in front of the plate, it looks like, just how tall he is in his delivery. I think he takes another step. That's more so the thing that worries me than on the mound, obviously, than the hitting. But Jake Clemente, I think he shined in the Cape this year, Chris, in the summer. 3 ERA, 29 Ks in 27 innings, mid-90s heater with a 2-plane slider and a great changeup. I mean, it's going to be a big step for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch. And I think he might take that Saturday role at least. But like I said, Florida's going to be in every single game they play in. They got one of the best managers, best head coaches in the country. I know you know that. And so we both have them back in Omaha for a lot of great reasons, and it's led by this lineup.
Yeah, and I think pedigree is really important, and I think Florida's got
too.
and they've got a team that, again, I think there's something to be said about knowing what it takes to get there, and especially the adversity they went through last year will make them better. I think the lineup, too, the thing that encouraged me, Harrison, again, they got a lot of talent back, but also they got a lot of guys that I think they'd agree did not play up to their skill level last year. Like, Florida was weird, like really slumpy last year, really streaky too. I think they've got a lot of guys in that lineup that are their numbers are just going to be better because they're just better players than what they showed last year. And it was, again, kind of a strange year. Also some intel for you, Harrison, on the pitching side. I've been told by folks down at Florida, because my big question here, they got to get the best version of Liam Peterson. He's got to be more consistent. We saw him firsthand. There were times where he looked electric. There were times where he just was lost. He, like the Clemson Super Regional, that kid was lost. I mean, big time atmosphere. It is what it is. He'll learn from it, get better. But he was lost at times last year. I've heard this, Harrison, intel down in Gainesville. Apparently, Kevin O'Sullivan and the company, they have simplified his windup. They've simplified his motion. It's much just more linear cleaner delivery, simplified. They are saying it has made him more consistent. So we'll see. Obviously, when opening day comes around, we will get to see him, and we'll get a firsthand look for ourselves. But that's just some intel for you from Gators practice. So again, Florida and Omaha, not a surprise. Harrison, let's go to the second team you and I both had in common, the Clemson Tigers. This is one What scares me about Clemson more than anything is just at some point, year after year after year, I don't want to say you choke, but it's been a long time since this program has been in Omaha. 2010 was their last appearance. I love Aiden Kanak on the mound, Harrison. I love some of the bashers they've got in this lineup. But really, you know what this is for me, Harrison? This is an Eric Bakich pick. I'm a huge Eric Bakich guy. I think Bakich is one of the best coaches in college baseball. Love his fire, love his energy, love his passion. It's only a matter of time before they break through. And it's a loaded ACC. Don't get me wrong. But I think you're going to see Clemson host again. I think there's a really good shot they're hosting a Super again. And I just got this feeling. I think, Harrison, they break through. They did well in the transfer portal. They added some big-time pieces. Again, they're going to swing the heck out of it. I don't know if their conference record's going to reflect the Harrison, because UVA, North Carolina, Florida State, NC State, Duke, a lot of competition. It's a lot like the SEC, but I like the Tigers to get to Omaha, and so do you, obviously.
Yeah, Chris, a lot of the same reasons. I think Eric Bakich is a phenomenal head coach and managerial leader of a program. And they're due. They were a play away, a strike away, an out away, swing away. It felt like 7 times in that super regional game we were at when Florida upset them in extra innings, one of the most electric games we've ever seen. And they're back for vengeance, and they are back. They hit well in the transfer portal. You got guys in like Colin Priest from Michigan, who's probably going to be a DH. He's got a big bat on him, a lot of power. And you obviously can't go. I should have started with Cam Caminarella, one of the most electric players in college baseball, top prospect. I mean, he is so fun to watch. He batted .340 almost with 60 RBIs, 11 home runs. He's not necessarily a power guy, Chris. He is just an athletic, toolsy guy that can do it all in the field. He's an absolutely elite defender. We saw it. Willie Mays faceplant catch into center field wall to save Clemson's season in that super regional and extras. And then you got guys like all up and down the line. Their infield's going to be great this year. You got a Cal Baptist transfer and Josh Pano. It's short. I mean, the thing that worries me, Chris, is the pitching staff behind Aiden Kanak. You got an elite All-Americans type guy in Aiden Kanak in what he was last year. As a freshman, I mean, 108 strikeouts in 83 innings. He was a workhorse for them with a 3.35 ERA. But behind them, I mean, I like Ethan Darden, junior lefty. They got a really good balance and mix of the lineup lefties in the box, but all lefty righties, but also in the bullpen lefty righties too. Got a lot of different balanced looks. I'm just really interested to see who takes that step up behind him in the starting rotation. You got freshman Dane Muller, who went to the high school. He's from where I'm from. His dad, I know, Brian Muller, played for the Tigers. An elite ball knower, that's for sure. And he's been there, done that. So he obviously going to prep him as well. And he's been trained so much. I think he has some growing pains freshman year, but I think he really steps up later in the season. But like I said, Chris, the starting rotation behind them, I think hopefully early struggles suit them well, like for each of the individuals. And then when that time comes down the road, they're ready, they're battle tested, and they step up and they deliver and take Eric Bakich and Clemson Tigers back to Omaha.
Harrison, Cam Caminarella, a name, certainly one of the most electric players in college baseball. Glad you brought him up, and can't wait to watch him this season. I mean, the plays he made in the postseason last year, all
swag, he's got it all.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's certainly the leader of that lineup. And again, I think it's, whether it's this year or not, and we both think it is, matter of time where that Clemson program breaks through under Bakich and gets back. Another ACC team, Harrison, the Virginia Cavaliers, the third team that we had in common. This one, to me, feels pretty self-explanatory, Harrison. I mean, listen, we're SEC Unfiltered, but we're going to give credit where credit's due. Virginia is a damn good club. I mean, that's a great program. O'Connor's done a hell of a job building that thing. They've got so much experience back. Their lineup was one of the best in the country last year. They returned so many of those guys. You know they're going to pitch well, obviously, under Brian O'Connor. So Virginia is just loaded, Harrison. I mean, they're just loaded top to bottom, led by Blanco and the pitching staff on the weekend. Again, you got guys, Ferenc, the catcher, who's back, 17 home runs. Was it Didawick with 23 bombs from a year ago? Yeah. So, I mean, they are just top to bottom. It's hard to find a weakness with that club. So Virginia, both of us have them in Omaha.
Yeah, Chris. And it's another pedigree pick. Brian O'Connor, one of the legendary best coaches in college baseball, I think, right now, and just his career and legacy as a head coach. But like you said, they're just an offensive juggernaut year after year. Just they have guys that step up every year and stay for several years, which isn't, obviously common as much now as it used to be with this transfer portal era and NIL. But they're filling a couple of holes, right? You lose Griffin O'Farrell, Ethan Anderson, and Casey Saki in the first 4 rounds of the draft, and you're having to replace that. And what did they do? They replaced each and every one of them as best they could, and have probably one of the best lineups still in the country after losing those guys. I mean, like you said, you're getting catcher Jacob Ferentz back, Harrison Dittwerk back, who combined for 40 home runs. Another team that's not going to be out of any game that they play in. And I mean, we saw what Jaden Wolford did and just the heart and soul he poured out on the mound for Virginia. I think he takes another big step in just leadership role and helps lead this pitching staff. And you got Evan Blanco as well. I think guys like that just kind of picks the click and just help lead this team back to Omaha, where they feel comfortable and feel like they're always there.
Again, Harris, another pedigree, another culture pick. It's Virginia baseball. You just, at this point, it's more surprising, I think, when they don't make it to Omaha. That's really a credit to what O'Connor's built.
And they're going to host a regional. They're probably going to host a super too.
Yeah, they're going to be there in Charlottesville yet again, doing it yet again. Let's go to the third team, Harris. We had in common the LSU Tigers. Jay Johnson, the Bayou Bengals, getting back to Omaha for the 20th time in program history. This one's interesting. There's some out there arguing, Harrison, that LSU is a little bit overrated, maybe in the preseason, being in the 2 or 3 spot. And I mean, listen, they've got some question marks. There's no doubt. It was a weird year for them last year as well, where you had these crazy expectations. How do you replace Paul Skeens? You had Tommy Tanks back. People forget they started 3-12 in conference play. Credit to them finding a way, scratch and claw, and getting to the postseason. Almost took down UNC in that Chapel Hill Regional. It was not meant to be. This is another one, Harrison, where I go to the pitching. That's the question mark. Cade Anderson's going to try to be that Friday guy. Chase Shores did not pitch. He hasn't pitched in a while. They were excited if he can be healthy. Again, it's an if. They picked up the kid Ianson from UC San Diego that they're really excited about. Connor Ware, they're really excited about. Gavin Guidry is going to be at the back end of the bullpen for them. Going to be, I think, one of the best closers in the SEC. And then you look at this lineup. Bear Jones is obviously the name, right? He leads them 28 bombs a season ago. You love Milam. You love Braswell there in the middle infield. Or Braswell will be at third base, excuse me. Milam at shortstop, though. Monster Milam. He really came on last year. Again, the jump Braswell made. They need guys like Jake Brown to take the next step, Josh Pearson to take the next step. But I think, again, this is LSU, Harrison, transfer portal. That you could argue there's nobody better in the portal right now and more active. And when I say active, I mean they're throwing money around and getting good talent than what LSU is doing, right? They went and got the Chris Stanfield kid from Auburn, who I think's got the chance to be a big breakout player. They're really excited about this Daniel Dickinson kid, Utah Valley, hit 18 bombs there. Luis Hernandez coming from Indiana State. He hit 23 bombs for the Sycamores. And then don't forget the name, the freshman, Derek Curiel. That's the freshman everybody's talking about. There's another one, though. His name is going to slip my mind, Harrison. But there is a freshman catcher, I've been told as well, that is giving Luis Hernandez all he wants for that spot, whether he figures in DH, whether he catches in the midweek, catches third game. They've got depth. They got immense talent. I expect the pitching staff to come together and click. Jay Johnson, one of the best in the country here. So again, we both have LSU here. It's an abundance of talent. I think the Tigers bounce back from what was a pretty pedestrian season for them last year. And all those portal pieces, or at least the majority, come together. They get the Bayou Bengals back to Omaha.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, literally every point that you just said, and just another pedigree, right? Jay Johnson, LSU baseball is Omaha. The past 15 years, it feels like LSU, Omaha, booked the plane ticket.
They're one and the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to touch one of the freshmen catcher you're talking about, Cade Arambide, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I mean, they've loved what they've seen out of him, and a huge recruit for them. I mean, he feels like the next freshman is going to take that huge jump immediately, like Stephen Milam did. You said, I mean, he was probably the most clutch freshman of 2024. And I mean, he's like 5'6" and just balled out in the SEC. I mean, he hit 330 almost at 40 RBIs. I mean, he almost had double-digit home runs as a freshman, just a smaller guy, and great glove in the infield. And just the depth, like you said, at the plate. Jared Jones is preseason #1 first baseman in the nation. Went to high school I'm from as well. I mean, he batted 301, 28 RBIs and 28 home runs, 61 RBIs. Expect him to be in the top 3 conversation for, Golden Spikes early in the season, especially the raw power he has. It's easy Daniel Dickinson, like you said, Utah Valley, he batted 370 almost, 18 home runs and 53 RBIs as an infielder. Big plug-and plays at second base. And he's going to transition well, I believe, to the SEC. I mean, you got guys all up in the lineup. It's next man up at LSU. It's always been that mindset, and it's going to continue to do that. But on the mound, a little bit more concerns. I don't have any concerns with Gavin Guidry, 2024 stopper of the year. I mean, I think, is only going to be better this year, if that's possible, if you can believe that. I mean, he spent time in this offseason at Driveline Baseball in Phoenix, Arizona. If you're familiar with Driveline, huge performance center, place to improve, your game mechanics, everything about it. And I mean, they've had 5 Cy Youngs, 4 MVPs, over 200 draft picks trained there to improve their mechanics efficiency. He's gotten more efficient, more strength, more explosive on the mound. That's the report coming out that I'm getting from Intel. I mean, there's no real weakness in the team, but then you have, transfers in, like you said, Anthony Ianson from UC San Diego. I mean, he's an electric fastball. It's touched 97. I mean, he's got a 12-6 hammer, mid-80s slider he can really manipulate the shape of it too, which is really cool and really hard to do. I don't think people understand how hard that is to do. And you got JUCO transfer Connor Ware, who I think he's going to be an impact reliever, a shutdown guy, mid-90s, upper 70s slider, and just mid-80s change all for strikes. They're going to have a lot of talent like they always do in the mound. It's just who steps up in those roles and delivers and feels comfortable and just balls out the rest of the season, Chris. I'm excited for LSU. It's a bounce back year for sure.
And you can say this, Harrison, about many teams, but for LSU, I do think non-conference play will be very important. Establishing roles. That'll be the biggest thing for them. As long as they can establish roles, by the time you get to SEC play, we're all set to go. Things could still change, but no shortage of talent. That'll be the only thing they've really got to figure out. This LSU team, they got Omaha expectations, rightfully so. Harrison, our fourth, and certainly not our final, not our last but certainly not least of our four teams that you and I both have in Omaha. How about the preseason number 1 team in the country, and by most people's accounts, the favorites to win the College World Series, the Texas A&M Aggies. Harrison, I mean, this is one, listen, even after the Jim Schlossnagle fiasco, Michael Early is a first-year head coach. I'll put it to you this way. Harrison, this team could roll out there every single day with no head coach, and they'd still probably host a regional. That's how talented this team is. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the head coaching spot. Really excited to see what Early does. That's going to be certainly a top storyline. I think it's going to be something we'll pay closer attention to when we get into SEC play, certainly postseason, kind of this is his first time doing it. But Harrison, an abundance of riches. You've got the Golden Spikes favorite in Jace Lavalette. You've got Gavin Grahovic. You've got Caden Kent back. You've got Caden Sorrell. You've got Hayden Schott. Oh, by the way, you added what they called the Ivy League Babe Ruth in Wyatt Hensler, hit 22 last year. You added the Bergevin kid from Fairfield. He hit 18 last year. You added Gavin Cash from Texas Tech. He hit 15 last year. Oh, by the way, on the mound, Ryan Prager came back, who went 9-1 overall with a 2.95 ERA. Justin Lampkin is back. You added the Miles Patton kid, who, Harrison, I've heard they are really excited about. The Long Beach State transfer, they expect big things out of him. Caden Wilson is back. Josh Stewart is back as your closer. Now, you lose the Yashenbeck kid. That's a big one.
Stopper of the year.
You lose the Cortez kid, right? The closer. That was, right? Don't you lose him? 101,
Chris
right?
Cortez, $98 sinkers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are big pieces to replace. And here's the thing, Harrison. We've been watching college baseball and watched baseball long enough. If you told me Texas A&M missed Omaha, it happens. Listen, even 2022 Tennessee didn't make it. And that's the best college baseball team, maybe most talented ever. So, it's
definitely the most talented did not make it.
Right, did not make it. So it's possible. A lot of high expectations. Can you live up to them? There's a lot of pressure, right? Because I think especially if Texas has success, right, there's going to be a lot of pressure in that state. If you, God forbid, you lose a series, lose a midweek, Michael Early is going to have a lot of hard questions. What's happening? What's going on? That fan base is expecting. It's national title or bust in College Station. That being said, Harrison, those names I just read off, Texas A&M with a chip on their shoulder, a boulder on their shoulder after what happened last year in the finals, especially after losing, head coach leaves. The whole team wanted Michael Early. He's the guy with all that talent. Harrison, you can tell me if you agree. I think it'll be a bigger surprise if the Aggies aren't back in Omaha.
Absolutely, Chris. I think it's not Omaha's the goal. It's Omaha's the expectation in College Station this year. And you can quote me on that because that's what they believe. That's their standard now. It doesn't matter who's coaching. But like you said, all these guys wanted Michael Early to be the head coach. It happened. He's here. I don't want to say it's a question mark for me, but that's where I think the most of my concern is the managerial aspect of it. Not that he can't do it, but how can he do it and how fast can he implement it? His philosophy of, making those decisions, when to go to the bullpen, when to do this, when to pinch hit, those things, because it's not easy, let alone doing it in the SEC. But the star-studded talent that they have 1 through 9 on the mound Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and in the bullpen behind them, unbelievable. That probably the best and deepest on both sides in the country. It's no wonder why they're preseason ranked number 1. You got Ryan Prager, one of the best pitchers in the country. He turned down $1.3 million, Chris, in the MLB draft from the Angels to come back to College Station. Unfinished business. If that's not unfinished business,
thank God for NIL for that reason. We wouldn't have Ryan Prager back in college baseball this year.
Yeah, if that's not unfinished business, I don't know what is. I mean, an absolute showstopper at the mound. We talked to him so much in Omaha. 125 strikeouts in 97 innings, 9-1 with a sub-3 ERA. I mean, then you got Justin Lampkin, another lefty. You're going to have lefty Friday, Saturday, Sunday's expectation with Miles Patton, that third role from Long Beach State transfer. He should transfer extremely well. I mean, high strikeout guy, low walk guy, and just a lot of innings under his belt. I mean, it's going to be elite Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the mound. And you got Caden Wilson, another sophomore lefty who I think is going to make a big jump and going to get a lot of quality innings in midweek. And you got, like you said, replacing Evan Aschenbeck and replacing Chris Cortez. Just that duo in the back end, the bullpen, is not easy to replace. I mean, those are two of the best pitchers I've seen in person in a few years. And just the stuff from Chris Cortez, I think more specifically, unbelievable. But Josh Stewart, I think, is going to hammer down that closer role as a senior. Just the pedigree, I think he can do it. I think he has that mindset because it's not for everyone. You know that, Chris, that closer mindset's not for everyone, but I think he's got the pedigree, he's got the makeup to do it. And he's going to be in a lot of, 1, 2-run, 3-run ball games when they have the lead because of the lineup and the depth that they have from everyone from Gavin Grahovac, who was SEC Freshman of the Year, batting 300 with 66 RBIs and 23 home runs as a freshman, Chris, in the SEC. I mean, that's not even mentioning the aforementioned, of course, Jace Lavalette, preseason Golden Spikes, I think, front runner, if not expectation, right? A lot of weight to carry with that. Batted 378 RBIs, 29 home runs, and he played hurt in Omaha the entire time. It felt like he had a torn hamstring, but he was leaving it all on the line. Just the outfield stack. Gavin Cash, I think, is the biggest piece for me. I know Wyatt Hensler from Penn, the Ivy League pipeline. You said the Babe Ruth of the Ivy League. I'm excited to see him play. I mean, he batted 360 in the Ivy League.
They called him the Ivy League Bambino.
Yeah. I mean, at second base, your second baseman's hitting 22 yayas with 56 RBIs. I mean, but Gavin Cash, Texas Tech transfer senior, batted 300, 51 RBIs, 15 home runs, 17 stolen bases. I mean, or 17 doubles. He's going to be electric and he'll be able to do it all on both sides of the ball. I'm stoked to see him in this whole outfield with Caden Sorrell too. I mean, then you got Chief Vibe Officer Hayden Schott back for another year in the DH role. I mean, I don't know a guy that has more fun and loves baseball and is, as successful as he is at Hayden Schott. So, I mean, I'm excited to see this team. Like I said, the managerial aspect to watch Michael Early learn and grow this season is my biggest focus because from everything we've heard and seen and read and talked to people, he can do it. It's just a matter of doing it fast, doing it efficiently, and learning on the fly.
So, Harrison, those are the 5 teams you and I both have in our Omaha 8. Now, the 3 differences we had, I'm going to run through my 3, give you my reasoning. I'll let you run through your 3. You can give your reasoning. The first of my 3, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I feel like I kind of owe Chris Lemonis this one. People probably forgot. I shouldn't even bring it up. Early in the season last year, I thought he was cooked. I thought he was done. I thought it was time for Mississippi State to move on. Not only was that incorrect, they made the postseason, made a run, almost beat Virginia at their place. I love this Bulldogs team, Harrison. I think they're super deep on the bump. Hunter Hines is a guy that people are not talking about enough, one of the best players in the SEC. I think he could be a 20-plus home run guy. He certainly has
clutch
the capability.
Last year. Clutch.
Loved it. Yeah, absolutely clutch. They added this kid, Noah Sullivan, transfer from USC Upstate, hit 17 bombs for the Spartans. I understand he's transferring up to the SEC, but I've heard good things about the Sullivan kid. Ace Reese, another transfer from Houston they added. They added Sawyer Reeves from the Citadel as well. They've got guys like Dylan Cutback, Bryce Chance, Michael O'Brien. And again, I think the pitching staff, they are really deep top to bottom, starters, relievers. It's going to take some breaks, but I think the Diamond Dogs, it's been too long since the Dogs have been in Omaha. This is kind of my flyer, right, of all my picks. I think Mississippi State, maybe they get the right matchup, what have you. I think State's going to be one of those sleepers in the SEC this year. I think going to finish a little bit better than people expect. I think they make their way to Omaha. My second, Harrison, the Duke Blue Devils. This is a program. Hey, I'm giving the ACC some love. They've been knocking on the door year after year, and it's always, Harrison, who is it? The culprit, right? It's UNC. It's NC State. Duke at some point's going to get there, man. They're going to get there. They've done a great job with this program. Ben Miller's back at 15 bombs a season ago. AJ Garcia's back. He hit 14 bombs a season ago. You pick up the transfer Jake Hyde from Georgetown, 13 bombs at Georgetown. And then again, you look at their rotation, man. They're going to be really, really good. Lefty heavy, Harrison. Get this. They're projected Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and midweek starters. They're all southpaws. I got to show love. I got to show love for a rotation that puts love to the southpaws, man.
There we go.
We're both southpaws. Give me the Duke Blue Devils, man. Give me Duke getting to Omaha. Finally, Chris Pollard and company finally breaking through. Hey, Harrison, you know when Duke's last time in the College World Series was? 1961. 1961. The College World Series. I think Duke finds a way to break through and get back. And my third team, I should say, Harrison, that we had different. I don't think it's going to just – I won't be shocked if it's SEC, ACC like last year. I think there's going to be some different flavor, though. I think there's going to be one team that upsets that order, and I think it's the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon going to the Big Ten. Harrison, they're going to run that conference. They're going to run that conference. They're going to dominate in the Big Ten. And here's the thing. The key for Oregon, if they're going to get to Omaha, and they return a fantastic club. Jacob Walsh hit 18 bombs a season ago. The Maloney kid hit 10. The Neville kid hit 16. They're top to bottom. Their lineup, Harrison, just crazy. I mean, it's loaded. Pitching staff looks really good with Grenzel, the Friday night guy. They picked up the St. Mary's transfer and Reitz, who's going to be really good for them. They loaded in the portal also as well. This is a really, really good program. They were in that Texas A&M, that College Station Super Regional last year, got knocked out against one of the best teams in the country. But their coach, Wazakowski's done a really, really good job in 5 seasons there. They've been fantastic. The key for Oregon, Harrison, top 8 national seed. Top 8 national seed. Because I think the key is, yes, you want to host a regional there in Oregon, but getting the super over there on the West Coast, making, whether it's a Vandy, it's an Ole Miss, it's a big ACC team, it's a Clemson, it's an NC State, it's a North Carolina. Getting them to come to your spot, I think, is really important. If Oregon's got to go on the road, it's going to be really difficult, right? If Oregon's got to go to Baton Rouge, they got to go to Athens, they got to go to Baum Walker, probably going to be tough. If Oregon can host that team, be a top 8 national seed, I think they got a really good shot. Some people are saying, yeah, no, duh. But I just think it's really important for Oregon to get that top 8 national seed. I think they will, because they're going to run the Big Ten. They're going to dominate every weekend. Ducks are going to break through. They'll be the best uniforms in Omaha. Oregon Ducks, my 8th and final team, and my 3rd team different from you. Give me your 3 different ones, explanations, please, sir, behind the 3.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a quick sentence of why I actually like these picks of yours. Good ball knower.
Little bit different. They're a little bit different.
No, I like the state sleeper pick. I mean, Justin Parker's turned that pitching staff around. One of the biggest turnarounds in SEC program ever. I mean, statistically the best, I think, across the board on the pitching side. Unbelievable pitching coach. He's done a phenomenal job there.
Love Justin Parker.
Baseball school. Great. Big fans of Justin Parker. I think Duke's a good pick too as well. Sleeper in the ACC. It's just going to have to get past UNC and, fight with Virginia.
That's their biggest thing. Their biggest hurdle is a loaded ACC. That's their biggest hurdle.
I wanted to put Oregon in so bad. I love the Oregon pick. I'm a big fan of that. And I think you're 100% right. If they can host a super,
who's going to beat them in the Big Ten? Nebraska's. I know they did some things in the portal. Like, I'm excited for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough. But I think the travel I'm gonna be really curious about because they're not going to play one game on a Saturday like in football. They're gonna go play a weekend series, come back. Then you got. I'm really interested to see how that works out. Oregon State's gonna be the only other West Coast team, with UC Santa Barbara that's gonna give them.
You talk about a wacky schedule, by the way, because they don't have a conference.
Yeah,
so they're playing all kinds of crazy
I love
games.
the veteran pedigree and the makeup of this Oregon Ducks team. They were one of my top 12 to make it. I wanted to put them in so bad. I knew there was gonna be a West Coast regional, so that was my ninth one. I'll give you that. But the three for me that we had different. Tennessee, the defending national champion.
Can you believe it took us this long to talk about the Vols? Can you believe that? People are listening like they're like, what in the world? They're like, where is Tennessee? We just got to them 44 minutes in.
Yeah, and if you're watching the show, you're not listening, if you're watching it, the picture of Tony Vitello, I am 99% certain it is a stare of death at Chris Phillips.
He's staring into my soul for not having the balls.
It's going to happen. I think it's a manifestation of him when we go to Lindsey Nelson to see him. He's going to stare at you and think, what the hell are you thinking? He's going to say you don't know ball because I don't know how you say, even as much as this Tennessee team lost, how this Tennessee program, I'm calling it pedigree. I'm calling it coaching. I'm calling it player development as well as player recruiting and hit the portal. Tony Vitello is one of the best at the portal, I think. I think that's arguable top three. I think it's one of the best for sure. But the way they reloaded and still have a lot of great pieces. I mean, you got Cannon Peebles. I mean, stud. I think he's going to stud this year, right? He's going to have a breakout year. You get the transfer from Ole Miss, Andrew Fisher, who I think is going to be an elite hitter in the lineup. I mean, 20 bombs, 57 RBIs. You got Dean Curley back for another year. I think he's going to take another step up. And he already had 50 RBIs last year. Hunter Inslee, I think one of the most electric players the entire time in Omaha that we saw. I sat down with him for an interview. He made two of the biggest plays, I think, in college World Series history. Face planting on the wall, leaving his eye black, his mark on the wall that you reenacted. And then the slide of the season to win it, basically, for Tennessee. I mean, they got a ton of great guys around them, a supporting cast. They brought in great guys. You got Nate Snead's back on the mound. The pitching side worries me a little bit more, just the depth and experience, but you got a good mix of lefty-righty. You got Liam Doyle from Ole Miss transfer, which I think he's going to take a really big step up. I think Nate Snead might start as the Friday night guy, but maybe Doyle. Wouldn't be surprised either way. But Doyle, I mean, he's a veteran starter. Snead's going to jump to that starting rotation from the reliever bullpen role he had last year. I think he does a really good job with that. I mean, he's a veteran guy. Almost 30 appearances, Chris. And you got just a couple of younger guys behind him, in the starting rotation role. But the closer, Marcus Phillips, I think he takes another step up. Redshirt sophomore, big dude, just a fierce guy in the mound. I think he takes that next steps and has just a big year. And I think he needs to have a big year in the mound to slam the door shut because Tennessee, we know, is going to swing it, Chris. We know they're going to swing it as much as anyone. So put the Vols, book the hotel, book the flight. I got him back in Omaha, and I'm excited to see him there when we go back. And as for Chris, the second one that I have different from you, and the team I don't think you're ever going to bet on or have any confidence on.
I'm waiting for you to get through all three, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on these.
Yes.
I've got thoughts.
Yes.
But go ahead.
The Arkansas Razorbacks, the team that Chris will never believe in until they actually do it.
They're on my shit list. I'll go ahead and say that. I'll explain.
Pick. I'll explain. Pedigree pick with Dave Van Horn, another elite college baseball name, one of the best college baseball coaches, I think, in the country, if not top three. But we know how talented they are. You haven't got over the hump the past couple years, right? Ever since the fly ball behind first place, they dropped to lose.
How dare you bring that up? How dare you?
I know. It's bulletin board. It's bulletin board for the Razorbacks. Lose to Oregon State in the championship and lose game 2, then go lose game 3. But you got Gabe Gakel moving from the pin to the Friday night role. He is an ace. He's going to be an elite thrower. He's got stuff for days. Heater pushing 100. I mean, that is an SEC ace right there. Mid-80s slider. He's got a 38% whiff rate on that. Upper 80s changeup, 42% whiff rate. Curveball, low 80s, 42% whiff rate. Big analytical guy, right? You get Zach Rue to transfer from ECU, a stud on the mound. Gage Wood stepping up behind an elite arm. I mean, he kind of was slept on, I think, when you have guys like Hagen Smith, Mason Molina last year. I mean, he would be an ace on the majority of any other teams in the country. I confidently believe that. Mid-90s heater, great horizontal and induced vertical break. I mean, great off speed. You got Will McIntyre and Christian Fouch headlining a bullpen of veterans. And then the lineup, I think they have a lot of improvement this year in the lineup, Chris. You have the second to last average in the SEC, only ahead of Missouri. I mean, if the Arkansas Razorbacks don't make it back to Omaha, quote me, it's on the offense because it won't be on the pitching staff, and it will be again on the offense. But you get a healthy Kendall Diggs. I mean, he battled a shoulder issue all year and could still play in 55 to 60 games. I mean, big bounce back year from him. I mean, he batted 300 in 2023. I think he's going to be an elite veteran. He's going to be healthy. Hoping he's healthy. He's a great player. Love watching him play. Then you have, some JUCO guys. You got Brett Iredale, New Mexico JUCO guy, was I think an elite talent. He has potential all SEC first team numbers and ability. Huge upside, monstrous 2024 in JUCO, batting 441, Chris. 78 RBIs and 25 home runs. 24 stolen bases, too. I think it translates well. High ceiling for him at third base. Huge pickup with Dan Van Hoor and co. But then you get, hopefully, I think another big production guy, Cam Cozell from Vanderbilt. I think just something clicks for him in here. And you got Logan Maxwell as well from TCU. Two guys that good average guys, but I think they're going to have a little bit more pop. But the thing is, the RBIs all come from having guys on base. And that's what they've struggled with, is getting guys in. And I think this is the year, Chris. I think they get over the hump. I don't think they host a super, though. I don't know if they host a super. I'm not going to bookmark that. I wouldn't be surprised. They got new threads, maybe new threads, get them back to Omaha. We'll see what happens. But, Chris, I think this is the Razorbacks' year to get back to Omaha. And Dave Van Horn deserves it for sure. I mean, veteran coach, a classic. And I think the Razorbacks, this is their year. I mean, you've been to the stadium. You've seen it. One of the best in the SEC. And that home field advantage is incredible. I mean, but losing to SEMO was tough. But bulletin board material, Chris, put it on the board. I think they get back to Omaha. And then my third and final, which I'm a little surprised you didn't put over Duke, Florida State Seminoles. Can we say that they're a baseball school now?
After you go 2-10 in football, I mean,
I think they are the team. I said
that
Oklahoma
might be a low blow, but I mean,
I thought Oklahoma was ready for a baseball season. I think Florida State's more ready for a baseball season than anyone else. And it's headlined by the best arm in college baseball, I think, in Jamie Arnold, lefty. I mean, we saw him. It would have been a clear-cut ACC pitcher of the year last year if it wasn't for Chase Burns. I mean, All-American honors, sure, I'll settle for that, Preseason, I think ACC player of the year. He's going to only do what he did last year, if not better. He's a Cy Young guy in college, right? He's going to headline this rotation that is full of transfers behind him. You got Joey Volini, who I think they are super high on from transfers from South Florida. Not a lot of innings last year, came back from injury for 2023. I think he's going to have a big year in that Saturday kind of role. You got Wes Mendez, transfer from Ole Miss, another Ole Miss transfer. I think he steps up in that Sunday role. That's what, Chris? Not one, not two, but three lefties again in the rotation. And then you got transfers in the bullpen as well. I think they got a really good balance of arms in the bullpen, different looks. I don't think all that's going to blow you away, but you got, it's a really, really talented group and veteran group. You got Jackson West, veteran shortstop back. You got elite offensive ability. I'm confident that Link Jarrett's going to get this team back to Omaha. They're going to host a regional, probably host a super. And you could say historically Florida State's a pedigree pick, right? They're a program prestige of that nature. We've seen it. We know the whole head coaching history. Mike Martin. Max Williams, if you get him back in the outfield, a lot of great pieces in this. It's all about coming together. I think the thing that worries me for them and what was my reservations was just impacting pitchers on the mound transferring in, because I think it's not as easy as people think it seems. You got to do it. And I think this non-conference early ACC slates where they can establish and solidify that. And I think they do. Noel's back in Omaha.
So your three, Harrison, I'm going to go backwards, or I'm going to start with your last one, Florida State. I love Jamie Arnold. It was hard to leave FSU out. They lost some big time bats from a season ago. ACC super competitive. Again, shake it up, draw names out of a hat. I wouldn't be shocked. FSU was the team.
Big piece.
They were the team, odd man out for me. I will not be shocked if they're in Omaha. That's the one that Arkansas, get out of here. Get out of here with the Hogs. Listen, and I love the Hogs. I love Big Suey. I love that fan base. So many great folks that I'm friends with, Arkansas fans. Love those fans. You're on my shit list. I don't know what else to tell you. And here's the thing. Early look ahead of the Thursday show. When we talk regular season predictions, Harrison, I will not be shocked if Arkansas wins the league this year. But what are they going to do? They're going to get to the postseason, and they're going to blow it. And I picked you last year at the start of the postseason to win the national title. Not only did you not do that, you lost to SEMO. Yeah, you're going to pitch. Oh, they're going to pitch. There's no doubt they're going to pitch. Are they going to hit? Harrison, you tell me right now they finish middle of the pack in the conference in team batting average, conference batting average. They're going to Omaha. I will give you
I'm
that.
about to say, if they finish middle of the pack, they're in Omaha.
Last year, they were second to last ahead of only Mizzou.
And they were still on the cusp of Omaha.
Well, SEMO said otherwise. Anyways, I got to see it. I love Arkansas. Got to see it. And then Tennessee.
How dare you?
Listen, I'm ready to be blasted by Vol Twitter.
The audacity.
I'm ready. I'm ready to be blasted by Vol Twitter. And I love Tony V. I'm looking right in his eyes on the screen here. Love Tony V. Love him. We love the Vols. Love him. Harrison, I think Tennessee's actually overrated going into the season. I'm ready to be blasted by Vol Twitter. That doesn't mean they're a bad club. That, by the way. But are they a preseason top 5 club?
I mean, they're ranked 4 in D1. They're ranked 5 in perfect game and 3.
I think that's a little high.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's a fair
you don't just lose, and they've got hella talent. And if they get to Omaha, am I going to be shocked? No, their head coach is Tony Vitello. They've still got Elander. They've still got, who's the other
Frank
guy?
Anderson, pitching coach.
Anderson. Kirby Connell's on staff. The core's there. But you lost Drew Beam. You lost Blake Burke. You lost SEMO. These are not insignificant. You lost SEMO,
top 10 pick.
These are not insignificant pieces, and it is so hard to get back to Omaha. And I know the stats don't matter.
Not for Florida, apparently.
The stats don't matter because Tennessee, they were the first number 1 seed since 99 to win it all. So, they don't give a damn about the stats. But there is a stat out there, Harrison, teams that win the College World Series, they don't get back often a year later. It's probably because they lose a lot of talent. Will it shock me if Tennessee's there? No, it won't. And I took a little bit of a flyer and maybe a risk leaving the Vols off, and there's going to be tons of pushback on this. Tennessee's, they're one of the SEC teams I absolutely think can get to Omaha. But we're trying to predict the Omaha 8 here, and you got to take some risk and some chances. And
you're getting bookmarked,
I just won't be surprised if when we get to the postseason, there's a moment or two where SEMO would have got that knock. Blake Burke would have got that knock. Who's going to be Blake Burke against Florida State last year? Who's going to be SEMO in that moment last year? That's the question. And then you factor in the pitching staff. They've got real questions in the pitching staff. I talked about LSU. Doesn't mean the pieces won't come together, Harrison. But I talked about LSU. Tennessee, the non-conference is pivotal for. They got to establish roles. They got to figure out who's who. Also, too, how does A.J. Russell figure in when he comes back about halfway through the season? He finally gets healthy. That could be a big piece that pushes him over the hump. Right now, though, and again, I took a little bit of a risk, took a little bit of a flyer. I don't have the Vols in. I'm ready to be blasted by Vol Twitter. I'm totally fine with that. I guess this is going to be this year's version, Harrison, of the Rocky Flop article from a year ago that I wish people would forget about. Either way,
no.
Harrison, I'm not going that far. But
yeah.
Harrison, before we get out of here, again, we spent a lot of time talking about these. We might have to introduce a new segment in the show, kind of, when they do the challenge thing. You get one challenge per show of opinion or take. We might have to bring that in. Maybe Thursday we'll start.
I'm a fan.
Of my 8, who's the one that you would call the challenge on that you're like, no way? Was there one that stood out to you? Were like, I got to call the challenge here on you?
Call the challenge, Mississippi State. I think just the hitting aspect. I think replacing a guy like Dakota Jordan and just depth of lineup. I mean, you cutting down strikeouts, but then the pitching staff's going to be there, right? But it's all going to be about hitting. And as deep as the SEC is, it's going to be a gauntlet week after week. I mean, Chris, we talk about all the time. It's 15 wins in the SEC is a good season.
Especially you added Texas and OU. The schedule only got tougher.
It's not a standard for them, expectation for teams, but 15 wins in the SEC is a good season. I don't think that should be taken slightly, but like I said, I would not be surprised if they're in the postseason for sure. If they're in a super regional with cusp of Omaha on the line, but of your 3, that's my challenge. I'd say my favorite, like I said, Oregon. But what is your 3 of mine? Obviously, it's going to be.
I'm calling the challenge on the Hogs. I have to, dude. Again, not even Tennessee because they just won the national title. Their head coach is Tony Vitello. How dare I doubt Tony Vitello? How dare I? And then Florida State again. I mean, here's the thing, Harrison. Yes, I have real concern what you lost in the lineup. But when you have the best arm in the country, granted, Arkansas had that guy last year. They
I
didn't
think
make
Tennessee
it.
will have some growing pains early, but I think it's good for them. They're going to have
And
a lot
you know
of
what?
adversity.
And you know what? They
Establish
had that in
roles.
23 and still made it to Omaha. So fair enough. And again, I'm not saying like I won't be shocked if they make it. I'm just, a little bit of a bold prediction.
In my interview with Tony Vitello, he told me so much about how managing a team and how he actually uses his degree to do it. And like, he is one of just a general, like an Army general, about managing an organization and a program. And he's shown that the past 5 years at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I have all the belief in him to get back to Omaha.
Yeah, but with Jamie Arnold, Florida State, that one makes sense. That one was they were hard to leave off.
Okay, do you think
challenge
Tennessee hosts a regional and or hosts a super?
Do I think Florida State does?
No, Tennessee.
Who
hosts the super?
I will not be surprised if Tennessee's going on the road for the regionals. I will not be surprised.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, I'm not going. The one thing I'm not going to do is jump on here and go, Tennessee can't do this. That would be dumb. That would be very dumb of me. They absolutely can. But, with what they lost, we'll see. We'll see who. I mean, they added some hellipies. I don't know if you mentioned him, the Fisher kid from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's the Amick 2.0 for them. That kid's probably going to hit 20 plus. Like, they added hella talent. They could go win the national title again. I'm not saying they're not capable. A little bit of a bold take of me. Again, my challenge on yours is Arkansas, just because of they're choke artists. Sorry. Y'all are choke artists till I see otherwise. So, yeah. I mean, you want that narrative to go away? You got a great head coach. You're going to be damn good in the regular season. You might win 20 SEC games. Will you choke or not in the postseason? Because what I've seen, you will. Harrison says you won't. I'd love to see the Hogs back in Omaha. That fan base would travel. We'd have a lot of fun with you. But you got to clutch up. At this point, it feels mental. So that's why I would challenge it. Harrison, like I talked about, man, it's one of the most fun shows we do, really, certainly of the preseason, but I could argue all season because it's fun making projections. Can't wait to see how wrong we are in a few months.
Or how right we are.
I mean, look, one of us is going to be wrong. And if it's me, and if it's because Tennessee's in Omaha, God bless my mentions. God bless them. I'll welcome it. I'll eat crow. I can't say I'll write you an apology article like what happened last year, but I will own it on the timeline. You have that for me. I'll rock some Rocky Top gear. I got you.
Chris, let's spice it up.
I'll rock the Tennessee ball cap.
Let's spice it up, Chris. Whoever has the least amount of correct picks of our Omaha 8 when we're in Omaha buys dinner one night.
Oh, I got you. All right.
As long as it's not the Drover.
Oh, sheesh.
We'll go there.
We could kick off the week with the whole trip. Whatever. We'll figure it out. I like that. We'll do dinner, though. We'll do dinner of some sort. We'll do dinner. And again, if Tennessee makes it to Omaha, and I doubted you, I'll rock the ball cap. I don't give a damn.
Hey, no. All right, no. If Tennessee makes it to Omaha, you got to do a jello shot for Tennessee.
By all means.
If Mississippi State does, I'll do a jello shot for Mississippi State.
Let's do that. The more the merrier when it comes to the jello shots. But again, guys, those are our Omaha 8, both myself and Harrison Fant. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? And who are your 8 you're predicting to go to Omaha? Once again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Do not forget this show powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, Super Bowl 59. It's just around the corner. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who will take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoffs to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200 when you make your first bet. Just place a $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com/SECU and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Must be 21 and up and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued at non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. in Connecticut, or visit mdgambling.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinglinehelpma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Harrison, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you once again so much for taking the time. And thank you all for tuning into another episode of The Wind-Up, the Omaha Cap. If you can't see it, you're listening. We're in the mood.
See y'all in Omaha.
We got a long
Omaha
season
8.
to go. There's a long season, but we already got Omaha on the mind. It never leaves. It really, truly. Listen, we came back, but part of my soul is still out there, Harrison. I can't wait to get back to it,
I'm excited.
the TD Ameritrade. Anyways, guys, appreciate you all again. This is the Wind-Up, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show, the best SEC baseball show on the internet. He's Harrison Fant. I'm Chris Phillips. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms. Also our website, secunfiltered.com. We'll be back with you Thursday to preview, predict, give you full analysis of the SEC college baseball season in 2025, our full season preview show. That drops on Thursday. Cannot wait. In the meantime, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you all on Thursday.